the Borries of West Taieri, tenant farmers from Perthshire who sought a better future for their children in Otago and found it.
Now, it's hard to be precise about exactly why many of our early settlers chose to emigrate. Few of them ever committed their motivations to the records for us for posterity. But some of their stories fit pretty well with wider patterns that have been identified by historians like Sir Tom Devine in Scottish immigration in this period. The Borries of West Taieri are a good example. They came from just near Dunkeld here in the Tay Valley. It's an absolutely beautiful part of the Scottish countryside, but one that was undergoing significant change in the 19th century. Over the previous 100 years or so, agriculture in this area had been modernising and leaving many fewer people with a stake in the land here. Tenant farmers in the Scottish system, you see, often moved farms, and their farm workers did so even more frequently. And it was this level of mobility, moving from place to place, that got them so used to moving that emigrating abroad just didn't seem such a big deal. Take this parish, for instance, of Dunkeld and Borrie here in Perthshire. In the period between 1831 and 1861, its population dropped by over 50%, from just over 2,000 to just under 1,000. And many of those who left immigrated, some to Canada, some to Australia, and some, like the Borries, to Otago. The first to come was Donald Borrie, who arrived in 1852. But he may have had a more personal reason for leaving. You see, his widowed father had recently remarried to a much younger wife who just didn't get on with his 7 children. And as the eldest, Donald seems to have gone as far as it was possible to go to get away from his stepmother.
His younger sister Janet, meanwhile, had married James Borrie from another, unrelated Borrie family in Dunkeld. They had 7 children together between 1836 and 1856, moving regularly from farm to farm across Perthshire, moves recorded by birth entries in the family Bible.
Then in 1857, they took ship from London to Otago on the Maori, following Donald, whose letters home must have provided sufficient encouragement for a middle-aged couple to move their large family to the other side of the world. They duly settled here at West Taieri, near where Donald Borrie had established his farm, Balmoral. James and Janet were well placed to prosper a few years later when gold was discovered in Otago, and small farms like theirs became highly profitable by supplying the miners' needs. They soon owned a 210-acre freehold property here that they called Huntly. Now, owning land like that was something they could never have hoped to achieve back in Perthshire. And the Borrie children of the next generation also had the opportunity to do well in the colony. And farming wasn't their only option.
John, James and Janet's eldest son, for example, who had served a drapery apprenticeship back in Scotland, first worked in Dunedin for James McAndrew at his store before joining the customs department and prospering as a bureaucrat in the growing city.
It's also important to remember how important the church was for these pioneer Presbyterians. Just like in Scotland, it provided the framework for their social life as well as their religious one. And for many of them, it was the religious character of the Otago settlement that was the main reason they chose to come here, as opposed to many other potential immigrant destinations. The Borries must have been especially proud when David, just 10 years old when the family had immigrated, decided to become a minister. He was one of the first students at the University of Otago and the very first at its new Presbyterian Theological Hall when it opened in 1876. After further training back in Scotland, he went on to have an illustrious career in the church, and when he died in 1912, an obituary described him as the real Bishop of Otago.